Hello and welcome to my first video chat. It's Inauguration Day, and like many of you, I am very concerned about the future of our country. I'd first like to point out that this video is for anyone who wants to listen, but is designed mostly for Democrats, non-voters, and especially for Bernie Sanders supporters. I supported Bernie, worked his campaign, knocked on doors, and made phone calls. And I believe it's a sad day for America that Bernie is not taking the oath of office today. So, why am I here? Well, since this election began, I have never witnessed such a large divide in our country. While watching the election progress, I began to notice some key elements which progressives need to consider going forward. First of all, I noticed both the Republican and Democratic sides have two types of voters: highly informed with an agenda and barely informed with an agenda. I also noticed that the largest voting bloc in America are non-voters. That's correct. We had approximately 64 million votes for Hillary Clinton, 62 million for Donald Trump, and 110 million people of voting age who did not exercise their right to vote. That actually gives me a little bit of hope for our future. Let me explain. That's 110 million people that can be educated about the myths of America and possibly vote in the future. What myths am I talking about? Well, one example is the myth that the country would be better managed by a businessman like the incoming president. Presidents Harding, Coolidge, Hoover, Truman, Carter, George H.W. Bush, George W. Bush, and his vice president Dick Cheney were all modern businessmen. Harding and Coolidge are best remembered by scandals in their administrations. The Wall Street Journal at the time declared, "Never before, here or anywhere else, has a government been so completely fused with business." Calvin Coolidge gave us the Great Depression. George W. Bush was a failed oil man. As president, he gave us a banking crisis, a housing crisis, a $3 trillion war, and he cut taxes on the wealthy. A businessman in office is not the answer. Another example of a myth in America is that the long-running policy of Reaganomics is effective for everyone. Although Reaganomics is not the official policy of the United States, it is the unofficial policy which dictates much of our current legislation. Reaganomics, otherwise known as trickle-down economics, is the idea that government provides an environment that helps the wealthy remain wealthy, and by doing so, they will trickle down money to the people below them through jobs that they provide. More recently, you may have heard the same argument referred to as protecting the job creators. All records indicate that trickle-down economics does not work for the working class. It simply protects the wealthy. With this election, we are witnessing the culmination of 35 years of Reaganomics, 35 years of tax cuts to the wealthy and the well-to-do, 35 years of stagnant wages for the working class, 35 years of an economy that continually dissolves families and puts more and more people at risk every day. American corporations are making more profits today than they ever have. Yet wages remain stagnant while workers' costs increase. I recognize it's not every corporation that is taking advantage of its workers, but it is by far the majority who do so. We need to end this. Another myth is that both major parties differ economically. They may have social differences, but the Republicans and the Democrats both support Reaganomics, which is evident when you consider the two extremely wealthy candidates they offered us. Donald Trump is a wretched billionaire, and Hillary Clinton is on her way to becoming one. Well, From this election, I have learned it will take three things in order to make America great again. None of these three things are Donald Trump. First, we need to educate voters about the realities of America and the history of both parties. We need to do this so we can better choose our candidates. Paul Ryan, the Speaker of the House, has been elected to office 10 times. The current Speaker is one of the strongest advocates for tearing down Social Security. He himself received Social Security as a teenager and used it to pay for his college tuition. Now he wants to take the same benefits that he used away from people who are in similar situations. But we keep electing hypocrites like Ryan. Why? I have witnessed quite often that people are ill-informed about the truths that surround our politics. For instance, a poll in 2007 determined that 41% of Americans believed Saddam Hussein was directly responsible for 9/11, even though there was no evidence to back up that belief. That was 6 years after 9/11, and we had a presidential election in between that voters voted based on that information. Second, we need to consider putting a commoner in the White House. The one thing all of our recent presidents have in common is that they were wealthy. All but one were millionaires. And the one who wasn't at the time is now worth over $100 million. Third, we need to end Reaganomics. The trickle-down economy has failed most Americans. It is time to put it to rest. In order to begin this process, I have decided to create some talks regarding the topics that need to be addressed. One of them in particular is Reaganomics. If you are interested, please pass this on. If you are interested in helping, please contact me. All are welcome. Before I go, I'd like to take this time to give you your first homework assignment. This is a two-part assignment. I hope you will try both of them. First, go visit your local supermarket or a department store like Target or Walmart. When you are checking out, take a good look at the cashiers. Look for the one that appears to be the oldest. Go through that line. Watch as they work and ask yourself if you'd like to be doing that when you are their age. Extra credit. Engage them in talk and ask why they are working. You may be surprised at what you hear. Second assignment. Drive to one of the well-to-do neighborhoods near you. Any that consist of houses that are, say, above $500,000 or more. The more expensive, the better. Drive slow and take a good look. Now imagine what it's like in those homes. Imagine the furniture. Imagine the kitchen. Imagine what it must be like to live there. The pool parties, the cars they drive. Now imagine what they go through when they get a flat tire, or when their car doesn't start. Do you think it's the same experience that you go through? Do you think that small panic that jumps up in your heart and makes you wonder how you're going to afford new tires is what they go through? Or do they simply make a small phone call because it's an inconvenience to them? And then ask yourself, do these people really need another tax break? Or is there something wrong here? Extra credit. Take one of your Republican or Trump supporter friends along with you. Have the same discussion. Thank you for taking the time to listen. I hope to see you all soon. Good night and good luck.